Hello and welcome to Desert Island 2, a Doctor Who podcast where famous faces from the world of Doctor Who and fandom take their 8 chosen stories to a desert island. I'm Conrad, with me as usual is Will.
Hello.
And our guest today is yet another one of the 5 Who fans who have frequented our podcast. And this episode is Daniel Sherratt.
Hello there. Hey. Hi. Nice to be here.
Now, we've talked a bit about 5 Who fans on the podcast before, but have you got any specific anecdotes about how you got into 5 Who fans and time you've had?
I was actually in 5 Who fans before this. I don't know if you know, or a lot of people know, that it actually started in 2009 with John and Billy. And then some things happened. Both of those eventually left, and then I came in 2010 for just over a year, and then but at that point problems sort of arose, and there was someone, don't know who kept deleting the channel, and it kept getting deleted about 4 or 5 times. And once it got to the end of 2011, we just sort of gave up. Me and David McLaughlin, we sort of both sort of said it's probably best that we stop trying to reboot it and keep putting the videos back up, because they kept getting lost, and it was a shame. But then it was obviously rebooted in 2012 with John and Billy and Benji and all those lot, and it was great to come back in just the beginning of this year. It's been mad, but it's been so much fun. It keeps changing. I mean, John's just gone. It's crazy. And then we've got Crystal in, and everything's great. So things are looking up for 5 Who fans, and we are continuing. We're already planning bits for next year. That's all fun.
So, shall we get into your list?
Yes, great.
Your first choice is a Edwardian set story. It has an Egyptian feel to it, and it has mummies roaming around, which are always good in a Doctor Who story.
Of course they are. I mean, we've got apparently we seem to have one coming up this year as well.
Yeah.
So they've got to love mummies.
And it is Pyramid of Mars.
Oh, come on, Doctor. That's worth a smile, surely. What's the matter? You should be glad to be going home.
The Earth isn't my home, Sarah. I'm a Time Lord.
Oh, I know you're a Time Lord.
You don't understand the implications. I'm not a human being. I walk in eternity.
Yeah. I remember this, before Doctor Who came back, I didn't really know about Doctor Who. Do you know when they used to repeat them on UK Gold?
Yeah.
And every now and then I caught a few of them, especially ones with Tom Baker and Sylvester McCoy, but I didn't know what was going on, and I kept wondering why the main character kept shifting, because I didn't know what was going on. But I distinctly remember one of the episodes I saw when before Doctor Who came back was Pyramids of Mars, and I thought it was brilliant, even though I didn't know what it was. I thought it was really, really interesting and fun to watch. I can't remember coming back. I'm sure it was coming back from school and just sort of sitting down and watching it, and just sort of looking forward to the next day when they were playing the next episode. It's great.
It's a very Tom Bakery era story. It does fit well into it.
It's very middle. It's sort of it is sort of in the sort of era, the sort of section which I love in Classic Who, which is that the early to mid Tom Baker. I do like Leela, but it's sort of when Leela comes in that I start to not like the tone as much. It's sort of that slightly gothic horror feel, which I love, and I love how sort of grand the episode feels. Where usually in most of the classic episodes, they're always like not very sort of big things are going on. There might be just like a little planet or just like a little town or something like that. So in this one, there's this sort of grand enemy who threatens sort of everything. It's like a proper New Who plot, but in a classic episode, which I think is brilliant. Because I guess for people watching it then, that must have felt a bit different, that it was such a big event episode. Well, it felt like a big one because of Sutek.
He's a sort of a godlike villain, which you don't really get much. I mean, he is an alien, but he's very powerful compared to. He's not just invading a planet.
No, yeah, exactly, yeah. I mean, I just think it's just because even the Doctor is getting defeated at one point. Do you know, if it wasn't, I'm trying to remember what happens. But you know, like apart from the distraction bit, he's like probably getting defeated, which is weird to see. Instead of him just like getting maybe strangled by a Dalek tentacle or stuff like that, he's like a proper threat, and I love it.
Yeah. What do you think of the design of Sutek? Because it really works in well with the Egyptian and Gothic-y theme that goes throughout the story. You think that's effective?
Yeah, I mean, he's quite frightening. You see, I actually look at some of these monsters, especially, like I said, in this era when it's got Gothic horror, and I'm thinking, for kids, this era must have been quite frightening. Because you had those sort of antimatter monsters, and I'm trying to think what else there is in that era. Actually, I've got Morbius, yeah, and Sutek, you know, and the mummies, and I'm trying to remember who the main bad guy is. Do you know the other bad guy? Do you know who sort of takes the form of?
Yeah.
The sort of.
Marcus Scarman.
I haven't seen this one out to the ages.
The archaeologist guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's quite frightening, especially because sort of Black Guardian guy who sort of burns that guy with the fez, just sort of burns him to death, and it's just quite grim, but at the same time brilliant. And I keep saying brilliant, and that'll be quite a common word with me. But yeah, I really enjoy that episode.
I mean, I've always have enjoyed it. I mean, it's got a very high reputation among.
Yeah, it's very.
fans.
Yeah, it's very high. Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'd rate it as highly as most fans would, but that doesn't mean I don't enjoy it at all. It does.
Yeah.
I think that it's a little bit overhyped, I think. But I don't know if that was expecting too much. Because, I mean, the big stories, usually when they say, oh, this one's really amazing and one of the best ones, you know, there's always a chance of being
disappointed.
Disappointed. I'd like to rewatch it and see how it changes in my estimation. It'd probably go up in my estimation if I've already watched it, to be honest. I haven't seen it in ages.
I mean, I watched it at first quite young, and then it was one of the first DVDs I bought. So I didn't hear much of the hype of it. So I just sort of went in without the hype, which I usually think is quite a good thing to do. Because if someone hypes something up so much, and then you go in, you're usually going to be disappointed. It's like a film. I've known a lot of people who've like hyped up certain films, and then it's like, oh, that wasn't as good as I was hoping. It's that sort of thing. But I went in without the knowledge of what was going on or anything like that, because I didn't have I didn't really know all my other sort of Doctor Who friends at that point, so they didn't tell me about it. so I went in sort of not knowing what to expect, and I was very happy with the result.
So moving on from one story where a godlike entity is the villain, to another one where it's multiple godlike entities.
See, you are the kings of those segues.
For the villain, and it's a McCoy episode, The Greatest Show in the Galaxy.
Yes, it's festival time at the Psychic Circus, the greatest show in the galaxy. So why not come along and have the time of your life with the non-stop action of its glittering circus ring? There's big prizes to
No, don't believe it. Junk mail.
Another one. This is another one that I watched when I was fairly young. I always, I think this one actually might have been just after the new series came out, and I was thinking to myself, I'd love there to be a Doctor Who episode that was set in a circus, or like a sort of like an abandoned or haunted or sort of evil sort of circus. And then I'm sure somebody told me about this episode, and then I watched it, and I was like, this is exactly what I was hoping from a story like that. It's probably creepy with the main clown guy. It scares me even now with that sort of creepy sort of smile hand wave thing that he does.
Yeah.
I find that I just sort of want to run away. And then just sort of all these aspects, even to that comical sort of droid that's in charge of the bus, which is still a bit creepy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's sort of episode that sort of has a good few twists in it, with like the that female character turns out to be a sort of a vampire, and they're just sort of what's all going on, who's controlling it all. So, and I love sort of ones that are sort of wonderfully paced, and it sort of keeps moving. And has all these really interesting characters sort of surrounding it, and such a variety of characters. And you know, he had that sort of adventure guide. You know, the old man, and
yeah.
At first you think he's nice, and then he starts betraying people. And he starts betraying even more people, and then all these characters who just sort of keep coming out of the portals to get to the thing. There's such variety, and I love it. Yeah,
it's quite got quite some scary bits in it, isn't it? With got the chief clown.
Yeah, the chief clown. Yeah,
who's very creepy. It's a lot darker than season 24 was.
Yes, yeah. Well, for me, the McCoy. This is when the sort of McCoy sort of era properly gets in. His sort of second and third season is we're probably getting into a really good territory, and it feels like there's a bit of an arc going on throughout those last two series, especially sort of the whole thing with the Doctor. He's sort of slowly getting more manipulative, and there's the whole thing with Ace, which is wonderful, and it pays off at the end. We start to find stuff out in the what's the episode that we find out? Curse of Fenric. That's it. But yeah, I love the sort of pace of this sort of section of sort of Sylvester McCoy's era, and it's just such a shame that that we couldn't see it sort of continue and see Sylvester McCoy's Doctor turn into this sort of much more darker character.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did get a nice little glimpse of it, especially in his last series. But even in this episode, is great, and I think even looks this episode, it looks really really nice, and it's like I wouldn't have guessed actually that there was that much of a cut. Well, unless you look at how many episodes they're releasing, but But yeah, I just think it's just a sort of lovely looking episode. I love the sort of scripting and set and all that sort of stuff. It's just a really nice looking episode, and I really enjoy it.
What do you think of the Whiz Kid rather character? And
Is that the one that was on the little bike?
Yeah, the one who was on the little bike. And how do you? Because he was. I think he was meant to be a reflection of obsessive fans.
Yeah, I could see that. That's. Do you know what? I didn't actually clock onto that until. Do you know? Actually, that's a good point. It's great, and it's sort of great how that sort of professor character just sort of influences him just to go into the ring, and it's just there's some cool scenes. But yeah, no, I didn't actually think about him sort of being an obsessive, like a lot of obsessive fans. But yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, yeah.
So, going from one story, which features a character transforming, to another story which also features a character mutating and transforming.
Into an animal.
Into an animal, yes.
A few of them, actually. A good few characters.
Oh, yeah, a few characters. And it is Mr. McCoy's final regular appearance as the Doctor, and it is Survival.
Good hunting.
Yes. This would have been too easy. Seems we must always meet again.
They do say opposites attract.
But this is the end, Doctor. You see it? It's a power from that planet. It's growing within me.
I first watched this about a year ago, and I didn't know what to expect. I obviously knew this was the last one of the classic era. So to me, beforehand, before I knew what was going on in it, it always my feeling on it was: is this the episode that killed Doctor Who? And then I watched it, and I was like, why did they axe Doctor Who? Especially just with the direction it was sort of going. Like I said before on the Greatest Show, I was quite surprised just how dark and sinister the character of the Doctor and just the whole sort of plot and sort of story to it was sort of going. And yeah, I'm just quite sad it didn't continue. Obviously, I'm happy. But you sort of think to yourself, well, if it did continue, then would it have come back in 2005? So you're on this sort of thing.
Yeah, or would their budget have been cut even more, or they'd have made a dodgy series and then they'd never come back? You don't know.
There's all these sort of different possibilities where if you wish this thing, but then that thing might have not happened. My one of my problems with Survival, one of my only ones, is that on the DVD cover you can see the Master. And if he wasn't on the front of there, and if I hadn't known, because also I think someone might have probably told me as well, but if you didn't know that the Master was in it, it would have been actually quite a surprise that he was.
Yeah.
I think it was
He
great.
hadn't been seen for a while, had he?
No.
Never met the Seventh Doctor. I thought he works of all the I've seen at least one episode of each Doctor alongside the Ainley Master, and I think he works best alongside Sylvester's.
Yeah,
I think this is his best moment, really. Which I've said on a previous podcast about Survival, but.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched much. I mean, I've seen Trial of a Time Lord, but I hadn't seen Mark Rani or anything like that. I mean, it'd been meaning to get that one, but
it's not that good.
I've seen. Oh right, I've seen that. I've seen the Five Doctors. So, unfortunately, with sort of both of them, both Five Doctors and Trial of a Time Lord, the Doctors didn't really confront the Master for a very long time.
So.
And I think there's a bit more with Sylvester, but yeah, I think the Masters. Anthony Ailey's Masters is most sort of creepiest in this episode. I think because I think previously he's been a bit more pantomime-y.
Yeah.
Yeah. While at this one, I know there's still some of that there, but it feels a bit more chilling than usual, and I find him a bit more scary.
It's more subdued, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think part of that's the sort of the slow descent into animalist, like the slow descent into him trying to just restrain himself and stay as the Master, because the Master's supposed to be this all-powerful Time Lord.
Yeah.
But even he can't resist the power of the planet, and that, I think that's a very big idea, that this planet is so powerful that look what it can do to you. You can turn into a cat, basically.
Yeah.
You can lose yourself and you can turn into an animal. I think that's a very scary concept.
Really scary thought, yeah. I mean, with the Master, because usually the Master's plot has been very similar beforehand. It's just, this is my plan, I will now stop you and stuff like this. Oh no, then he'll be defeated after, where it feels a bit different this time. Seems to be approached from a bit of a different angle. Where it's
not as if he's got like a plan. He's just trying to. It is survival. He's just.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's the hunter and the hunted, really.
Definitely, yeah. And just seeing all these characters, the Master, Ace, and the Doctor, and all the other surrounding characters, sort of slowly descend into to animals, really, and the whole sort of thing's getting quite chaotic. I mean, it's quite an interesting sort of setting, because we sort of obviously always sort of bouncing back between that world and then modern day. Which I'm trying to think. That's one of the. Oh no, I guess you have Battlefield, but one of the in classic Who, it just feels like you don't get a lot of modern day ones. Obviously, actually in Pertwee's one, it's sort of there all the time, but afterwards it felt like we were constantly travelling and constantly going to different places. But it was nice to sort of have quite a suburban. Yeah, that's more. It's sort of quite a nice suburban sort of place to go, because we didn't used to get a lot of that. It's very well now. We sort of think of sort of that sort of a place would be in New Who. We go a lot there, especially like in Russell T Davies era. But yeah, it's just a nice setting, and
really, because it comes down to Earth, and you see for the first time in classic Doctor Who, really, you see the gritty reality of council estates and inner city London. But speaking of council estates, your next choice is when Doctor Who came back, and he came crashing into the world of the council estate, and it is Rose.
I said, who are they?
They're made of plastic, living plastic creatures, and they're being controlled by a relay device in the roof, which would be a great big problem if I didn't have this. So, I'm going to go upstairs and roll it up. And I might well die in the process, but don't worry about me, no.
Yeah, now, I've actually picked this episode, not necessarily for the story, although the story is amazing, but it's sort of the sort of place it has with me, sort of just how important it is, like for me, and I possibly with you too as well. This is the first proper sort of, when sort of knowing it's Doctor Who, this is the first proper story I was sort of introduced to, and sort of starting to know what Doctor Who is, because obviously, like I said beforehand, I just sort of, it was a show and I didn't really know why the characters kept shifting, but sort of this story is just so important to me because without it, I wouldn't have met all these sort of brilliant sort of people around me. So yeah, it's sort of just how important it feels that it's just so odd that a show can do so much, and it's sort of almost now actually, crazily enough, it's almost shaped my career path that I'm going, because originally I remember for some reason I wanted to be a radio DJ, and now I want to be in film and TV production, and especially Doctor Who. Thanks to this episode and like Doctor Who Confidential really got me into sort of television production, and just how cool it would be to work on a show like Doctor Who. So that's sort of, I would say, mine and quite a lot of like the Five Who fans like that would sort of be our dream job.
Yeah.
Just for an episode, just to do so much and shape the sort of my future. I just think it's brilliant.
Yeah, this wasn't the first one I saw. The first one I saw was Dalek, but this was definitely one of the first ones I saw, because after seeing the new series and with Eccleston, I wanted to see what the ones I'd missed.
Yeah. Because I know quite a few people who sort of got come into it halfway, and I just sort of said that must have been such a sort of an odd experience, just sort of to come into it halfway. I mean, so did you just sort of watch it all and then just go back?
Yeah, I just got the DVDs. I remember being really excited to get the Volume 1 vanilla for the first time.
The vanilla, yeah.
And this is one, when I see because this is such an important episode, when I watched a few leading up to the 50th anniversary, and it's not my favourite Eccleston story. There's a few that I prefer to it, but this is the one I chose to watch, despite me loving Dalek, loving the two-parter with the Empty Child Doctor Dances. Yeah. I chose this one because of its importance in Doctor Who, really.
Yeah. It's just, it really is. Do you know like when people sort of say, "Oh, what's one of the best episodes to watch if you want to get into Doctor Who?" And for some reason, a lot of people say Blink. I'm unsure why people say Blink for like a first episode. I don't think that's a great episode to start with, where you do really want to start off with something like, well, really either Rose or the 11th Hour. I didn't really know what I was letting myself in for. When I saw some pictures on the TV magazine of the Autons and like some bits, I think, from episode 2 as well, like the blue. What's the blue guy called? The Mox of Balhoun or something. I think that was it.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, goodness me, well, this looks a bit mad. But no, I was just transfixed as soon as it sort of got into it. As soon as sort of the episode, probably like 15-20 minutes in, I was mesmerised by it, and I just couldn't wait for the next episode. It's just so exciting, because just like to have a series where sort of the whole family could just sort of sit down, we can just all watch together, because I hadn't had that for a long time. Because there was obviously beforehand there was just like sort of kids programs, because I was 11 when Doctor Who came on, so beforehand I had sort of kids programs, and mum and dad wouldn't watch that with me, but sort of when Doctor Who came along, I could sort of watch it, we could all sort of watch it and enjoy it, and it was brilliant. It's just a brilliant feeling, just to have a nice company, just sort of a group of people just enjoying the episode. But yeah, and for now, like I say, the story isn't perfect, but it's sort of the effect of it. And in fact,
I couldn't have brought it back with anything better. I couldn't have.
No,
you wouldn't want to do the Daleks in the first
No,
one, and you
no.
wouldn't want to do the Master, and you wouldn't want to do a TV movie or something.
no, definitely. I mean,
And you don't want to put too much mythos into it. It's not. It could. I mean, it's still obviously Doctor Who, but it's not bogged down in. Oh, he's a Time Lord. He's two hearts. He's got
curly hair.
Yeah. It's not. He's half human on his mother's side. It's not.
No, God.
It's not bogged down in continuity that people are gonna probably say is all wrong anyway. It's like a fresh start, isn't it?
Moving on from Christopher Eccleston's first.
I'm pretty sure I've done this segue before for this between these two when someone's. Mind you, there's not much you can ever say about than that.
Going from Rosie's first story to her last with Christopher Eccleston is Bad Wolf, Parting of the Ways.
I will talk to the Doctor.
Oh, will you? That's nice. Hello.
The Dalek stratagem nears completion. The fleet is almost ready. You will not intervene.
Oh, really? Why's that then?
We have your associate. You will obey or she will be exterminated.
No.
Yeah, I did actually say this before, but Christopher Eccleston, he's brilliant, isn't he?
Yeah.
He really is. It's so sad that he only did one series. But what a series. I mean, some people sort of look at it now and think it's a bit daft, with the whole farted aliens and pigs flying spaceships and stuff like that. But, it's just so wonderfully made, and it's just like, it's just so wonderfully sort of paced. The whole series is, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to sort of say it. Just to sort of Christopher Eccleston's performance, just in all episodes, was just superb. He really was the sort of. He really just sort of stole the limelight in all the episodes.
Yeah,
and he was brilliant. And this episode, you could really feel that, and you could really feel him. That he knew he was going. That he knew this was his last sort of two-part, and he sort of went out. He sort of put as much effort in as possible just to make his sort of final performance so grand and brilliant. And I love this two-part. One of the only problems I remember having with this episode was that the episode before, the trailer of it spoiled the enemy.
Yeah.
It was like, what? Oh, sort of at first you start excited, but then you think, oh, I didn't want it to be spoiled. I didn't want that to spoil me, because how the episode sort of builds up, it sort of builds up the mystery behind who the enemies are. And then, so if they didn't have that in the trailer, it would have been probably even more excitement to see.
Yeah,
Alex.
Shooter in the Dark. Mind you, probably all over the internet, wasn't it?
Probably what I mean.
I wouldn't have known.
No, I wouldn't have known at that point. I mean, I only sort of start looking on the internet for like spoilery things right at the end of series 3.
What would have been good is if we hadn't known Eccleston was leaving. I can't even remember what my reaction was to Eccleston leaving. I'm pretty sure, like, it was. I probably knew that Eccleston was going to regenerate.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I remember the papers spoiling that for me.
Wasn't it said he was leaving, just not even after it just started showing?
I think it wasn't that long after the first episode aired, wasn't it?
It was actually, yeah. I remember being really disappointed. I don't think I was told this straight away. I think it was told it was a bit of a annoyance. My mum decided to tell me halfway through the series when I was really getting into him, and it says he's leaving at the end of the series. Like, what? I don't want him to go. It's like, oh goodness. but yeah, such a good finale. I mean, at the time, especially around that time, like all these sort of popular TV shows like Weakest Link and Big Brother and stuff like that were massive at the time, and the fact that they're sort of playing on that. It's just, sorry, I'm not great at this. I'm trying.
It's fine.
I get it. I know what you're getting at. You it brings it to the audience. It's makes it relevant. It could date it, is what I've said before in this podcast about it.
Especially like with Weakest Link and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I mean, I suppose it takes you back to that time when you were watching it.
Yeah.
I don't think when people say, "Oh, that episode looks dated," I don't see why that's such a bad thing, because it sort of invokes the time it was made. I mean, things can never be current if they're not going to end up being dated.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't see why something being a bit dated when it's old. It's like, I mean, Bad Wolves is 9 years old. It's going to be a bit dated, but it's. I mean, that's not a bad thing at all. It's a good thing, because it shows it was current at the time.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's like it was like a really Russell T Davies thing, because he did really like to do that sort of thing. You know, like throughout his, he loved to sort of reference all that and like pull other things in, all these references to different TV shows, little clips of different things like. EastEnders, I remember being in one episode, and then you have like celebrities doing little cameos, and we've not really had that in Stephen Moffat's era. It was interesting, better from Parting of the Ways, because I'd never seen a series before where everything sort of pulls together in the end, like everything, like an arc. I've never had a series before which has an arc.
I mean, Trial of a Time Lord's supposed to be an arc, but it doesn't pull together. It doesn't make any sense.
But as in me, when I watched something beforehand, I'd never watched like Trial of a Time Lord or anything like that. So like for me, like the first time I watched something when I was young, it was just it just felt so exciting to have that all these sort of strands were drawing from different episodes, and you start to realise things that you didn't notice at first, which I always thought was great about the Russell T Davies series, that you don't realise these things at first. You don't realise that all these things were mentioned, and then when they all sort of give it to you, it's like, oh yeah, I remember that now.
So speaking of story arcs, there is a mention of a story arc in this episode, The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit.
I have been imprisoned for eternity, but no more.
Come on!
The pit is open, and I am free.
I remember watching this episode for the first time, and I was frightened to death. It was so scary. I was talking to some others the other day, and do you remember with The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances, and they said that people complained because they thought it was too scary for like when it was being released and stuff like that, or like for Doctor Who. But then I find The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit even more scary. So it's almost like Russell just sort of ignored what they were saying. And you know what? I'm glad he did, because it is truly frightening. And this is what I love about Doctor Who sometimes, just those episodes that come out of the blue and frighten the pants off you. Especially for me when I was 12, because the Ood were terrifying when they sort of got taken over, and there's just sort of whole mystery behind the sort of the devil and what's his Toby. Toby was There's a little link between two of my episodes. That the voice of the Satan guy was Sutek from Pyramids of Mars. I remember finding that out. I think, oh, that's really cool.
Like two evil demonic figures, isn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Because Sutek was sort of like the Satan of the Egyptian gods, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And I think this one, I read quite recently when I was reading about Stephen Moffat's got co-credit on a lot of Series 8. But apparently Russell wrote a lot for this, and he wished he'd have got co-credit for this.
Yeah, no, I remember hearing it because I think Matt Jones is the main writer of the episode. But yeah, I do remember hearing that Russell did come along and write, did sort of change a lot of it. But I'd love to see the Matt Jones sort of come back. I'd love to see. Like, I don't know what he's been doing since. I haven't really heard his name anywhere. But I'd like to see him come back and do another episode. I mean that. There does seem to be quite some scary sounding episodes in Series 8, but yeah, I'd like them to bring that writer back because it's just terrifying. Just the whole thing with picking off the crew one by one. This like when he's just sort of standing out. Outside the Toby character, and he just sort of turns with the most sinister looking grin ever, and then just the glass, and it's just
great acting though.
Yeah,
and it's I like the bit where Satan finds the weird saying that in the Doctor Who context, where Satan says he knows the truth about. He sort of says all their darkest secrets. And it's really creepy because they don't really explain how he knows all this stuff. Like, is it actually Satan? Because he does know all of their secrets, even the Doctor. The Doctor's vulnerable.
Definitely. I mean, also what's great about the devil character, the beast even, is that we never truly find out what it is, if you get what I mean. I mean, we know what it looks like. We've got the sort of look at it, but we never properly find out what it is. Not in sort of full, which I always like it when they leave some mystery behind. Midnight is brilliant with that.
Yeah.
And I love it when I love it when they leave mystery, but sometimes we've had ones and they don't leave the mystery, and you sort of think, oh, I wish they did. A perfect example of that is Hyde.
When you say it, and I was like, what?
Massive.
It does look horrible, but I preferred not seeing it.
Yeah, no, I think to keep it in if it was sort of kept in that sort of shadowy sort of thing before we see it at the end. If you kept it sort of how it was, it's brilliant. And that episode with that ending felt so much like it was attached last minute. That bit with the whole love monster thing, it felt so much like oh no, it's too frightening. We need to add something onto the end just to make it less scary.
But they didn't do that with any other ones, did they?
Yeah, no. I mean, I just felt like ruined the episode because it sort of takes away the fear of that monster, and it's so disappointing.
Definitely.
I just sort of wish they cut that. I think in the past when I've watched that episode, I've sometimes just stopped at that point, just before the love thing comes out. I've just sort of stopped watching it, as that's how I'd like it to end.
You never know what happens to them, but and how they get out of it. But at least it's better than the love plot.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I love sort of the whole reason that we don't find out what it is, and it could still potentially be out there. Really, I mean, they're probably never going to go back to it, but the sort of creepiness that it's the devil. It could be anywhere. Right now, it's gone through a black hole, but the Doctor doesn't necessarily know where that's
Whether
where it's going to necessarily take them. There's no.
Because can you kill the consciousness of it with a black hole?
Not necessarily.
I mean, nothing can escape a black hole, I say, but I mean, they said it could never escape its chains before, could they? And it did. So you never know. It's a godlike entity. Different rules.
Yeah. I mean, yes, it's just it's a great episode. I mean, I know I listened to Richard's, and I know Richard isn't a big fan of the second part, but I still find it quite terrifying, and it sort of builds up the pace a bit more. And do you know, like the scene in the scenes in the ventilation shaft?
Yeah.
Oh, properly like.
I love those.
It's so tense.
really,
the tension is so big, and you're sort of like, God, they're gonna get out of there. Just it's like. It's sort of one of those moments where you just want to sort of yell, quickly, run, which I haven't actually done that for a while, because we haven't had that much tension for a while in an episode. But yeah, just sort of, I think it's good because it builds up the tension and the suspense of the episode. As we sort of have, we have sort of two different things going on, which is great. We're not sort of constantly at this with the same set of characters. Throughout the entire episode, we're sort of always cutting back from those characters in the vent shaft with Rose and the Doctor and the female character, and I like that sort of chop and change, and instead of us sort of staying with the same characters throughout an entire episode, so it just makes it a bit more exciting.
Going from one story which features a mysterious, partially unexplained villain, to another story which features a mysterious, partly unexplained villain. It's another David Tennant era story, and it's Turn Left.
This is wrong. This is so wrong. Sorry, what was it, Donald what? Why do you keep looking at my back? I'm not. Yes, you are. You keep looking behind me. You're doing it now. What is it? What's there? Did someone put something on my back?
Turn Left. I actually watched this episode last week, just to remind me why I enjoyed it so much. For me, this episode feels a bit left out, in the sense that involving with the sort of Dr. Light episodes, because really so far we've had 3 Dr. Light episodes, I think. Yes, we have. Which is obviously Lover Monsters, Blink, and Turn Left.
Technically, The Girl Who Ate It was one, but you'd never really notice. They filmed all the Doctor scenes in the TARDIS and spread them all out.
Turn Left's a bit left out. It feels like Blink's the one that people always talk about. It's the sort of that one that everyone always mentions. And then you've got Lover Monster is well known, but obviously well known to most people for being not a great one. So that Blink and Lover Monsters are talked about a lot, but for 2 very different reasons, which sort of leaves sort of Turn Left sort of in this place which I feel that not a lot of people remember or talk about. But I think it's got such a sort of simple premise, but sort of I think they pull it off in a really cool way that we see the proper sort of grim side of things. That we sort of see the Noble family sort of descend.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in a sort of gruesome sort of the sort of typical alien invasion ways, but sort of descend through a large period of time, sort of as it sort of spreads out, like among like 2 years or so.
Yeah,
and just sort of seeing a world sort of try and cope with all these situations that are going on is very different to see. I mean, we sort of have it in The Last of the Time Lords, but it's not
fully explored.
And but with that one, it's more like one big thing happens, and then we're sort of we're just sort of there. Do you know, like the one big thing, the invasion. But with this one, it sort of gradually gets worse, which I prefer. As sort of at first things are there's just all these little events like the hospital going, and bits like that, and then the Titanic hits, and then things really go to shit, and you just saw. Sorry to swear there, actually. And you just sort of see all these sort of people not necessarily, since they're not sort of all being attacked by aliens, they're coping with this situation that's happening, and just sort of the whole thing where they've got to relocate everyone, and everyone's sort of in the same houses, and it's quite a scary thought of what could happen if, like, if something, not necessarily something like that. I don't expect a giant Titanic to fall into London, but it's a bit just sort of those sort of warnings that we get even now, like nuclear sort of stuff that's going on, and it's a scary sort of thought that it could end up turning into something like that.
Yeah.
And that's just quite a frightening thought. And especially it's such a grim premise with the whole thing of the Italian character who then gets sent away later in the episode off to what seems to be a sort of concentration camp, which is sort of, because we'll sort of say it's sort of happening again, and it's quite frightening.
It is
sort of what's going on. But yeah, no, that's just sort of why I love it. It's so different. We're sort of seeing the proper sort of grim side of things, sort of going into the more. We're not sort of seeing what's happening with the higher people, with all the sort of people who are controlling it all, but sort of how it's sort of affecting the world.
Yeah,
it's sort of the normal people, the sort of working class people, which I think is a brilliant sort of look on it, and just the whole sort of premise of what happens if the Doctor wasn't around, what happens if the Doctor was killed in one of these situations, and when we're looking at all these things from different episodes play out in a different from a different angle, and if these things actually did sort of come out, and the Titanic did fall, and the Fat was walking and stuff like that, and spaceships and hospitals disappearing and stuff like that, and then just seeing all sort of other characters that are all that sort of with Sarah Jane and Torchwood and that sort of almost even though we don't see them, but they're sort of trying their best to do what the Doctor does, but unfortunately they're not succeeding very well.
No.
They try it, and they like Sarah Jane only manages to save like one person from the hospital, but they unfortunately go with it, and then like I think Torchwood defeat the Sontarans, I think, and stuff like that. But sort of it's nice to sort of reference all these sort of different events that are happening, and all these different people sort of coping with a world without the Doctor.
Yeah.
And I just think it's nice and different. That's sort of just why I like Turn Left. I like that sort of a way of taking a Dr. Light episode and erasing him from the universe.
Well, I'm not very keen on alternative timeline stories.
Right.
Because I just see them as a bit pointless, because they're interesting to an extent, but the fact that it's a 45-minute TV program, that it's more like a book or it feels more like a book or a fan fiction rather than it's sort of like a checklist of look at these stories I've done before, and that Russell's doing all these alien invasion stories that there's been in his era.
It's quite a simple premise that I rather enjoy, just to sort of see all these different things unfold in a different way, and all these alien invasions that were saved sort of just turning out bad. And I mean, I wasn't keen on the whole. The Time Beetle was a bit funny. I did like the bit where she forced herself to then sort of turn back the other way. But yeah, and I must admit, I loved the sort of ending of it as well, sort of building up into the finale. So I wasn't expecting to hear Bad Wolf again. And I remember something which I was like, no. I was so shocked just to hear Bad Wolf, and sort of built up my excitement at the end for the whole series finale. And just.
So, from one story which has bits set on aliens, involving aliens invading Earth, to another, your next choice is a Matt Smith story, and it's one that introduces Clara as her normal self.
So normal, two-dimensional self, yeah.
It's the Bells of St. John.
Yeah.
Run, you clever boy, and remember. 1. Run, you. 2. 3.
What did you say?
This episode brought me hope again for Doctor Who, because I thought for the past couple of years we had. I was quite disappointed in what was happening, and sort of Bells of St. John came along, and I was just like, it made me so happy to see it again, and it felt different. It actually did feel different for the first time in a bit. Unfortunately, it didn't. That tone, well, at least in my opinion, that tone didn't sort of continue through the other episodes. It sort of went back to normal afterwards. But I sort of liked the whole sort of thriller aspect of that episode, and it felt very. I remember hearing something about. I think John said you could, when watching that episode, you could clearly tell that Stephen Moffat had watched Skyfall recently, because that episode was probably right near the time that he was probably writing it. So you could sort of clearly tell he sort of got that sort of thriller James Bond feel to it, and it's so wonderfully paced, and so it's sort of exciting to sort of see Doctor Who like this. You know, it's sort of just sort of to build it up, and it has this great climax and all these really cool action scenes, and unfortunately, it's Clara, and she's still two-dimensional. But at that point, we don't really know that she's as two-dimensional as she becomes. Although as before, I am holding hope out for Series 8 for her to change a bit, which I've heard she might be.
I think she is.
But yeah, no. I was very unsure going between this one and Day of the Doctor, but I decided to go with this one, just because it sort of got me excited for Doctor Who again. I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was, whereas like with Day of the Doctor, I was thinking it was probably going to be good, and I ended up enjoying it. Whereas with this one, I was unsure. The whole idea with spoon people sounded really ridiculous. It did sound silly. I liked how they did it in the end, though, because I mean, it wasn't like just a walking spoon. They didn't. It was just the shape was reminiscent of a spoon. Really. Like when they first said spoonhead, so just all like a picture was just like a spoon, just a big spoon with sort of arms and legs, just sort of walking around. No, I knew that probably wasn't going to be the case, but that's all.
I don't think they were they called spoonheads in it? Yeah. I don't think they ever did they mention that? I don't remember.
One of
that wasn't their official name.
No,
so
one of them mentions it, and then the main female villain sort of said that's not what they're called and stuff like that. There's something else. She says she gives them a name.
So it's not their official name. So it's not like that would be a bit too far, but this is another one where it could seem a bit dated in the future, because obviously Wi-Fi is a big thing now, but who knows in the future whether it will be.
Yeah. But if a sort of, I think it's sort of there to sort of scare you a bit of sort of what sort of these things that are all around us. Especially Wi-Fi is just everywhere. I mean, we're using Wi-Fi to talk to each other right now.
Yeah.
And just if that got out of control and if it got into your system and stuff like that, which is.
I suppose it sort of links back sort of to something like the War Machines, which is computers linking up and what could be the dangers of that.
Yeah, it's probably like Terminator.
Which is not, the War Machines isn't, obviously, some of it sort of seems a bit silly now, but I mean, as a product of its time, it was right at the forefront of technology that it was talking about, and, it works as a product of its time, I think, and I think the concept is definitely a very interesting one to explore about technology and how we don't know enough much about it when we really think about it.
Yeah, I mean, just sort of the whole thing, and also it's great because it feels one of the first times in a Stephen Moffat episode that actually people are dying. Because obviously that's what they say, don't they? That after like 24 hours or so, I think it's something like that the people do eventually die. Yeah. And the Doctor actually sacrifices a good chunk of them at the end just so he could let some of them free. Although it really is just to save Clara. Doesn't really give a damn about any of the others. But people actually die in that episode, which is different for Stephen Moffat, because Stephen Moffat doesn't usually like to kill anyone.
No.
Everyone just keeps coming back.
Magic,
lovely magic. But yeah, I mean, I'm just like some things that sort of set up in that episode, but unfortunately they don't sort of follow through afterwards. And it just sort of feels a bit of a shame. It's sort of like, it just felt like Doctor Who again, and like with the sort of great intelligence part of it, I was hoping sort of after that the great intelligence would sort of keep popping up now and then, but unfortunately it just comes in at the end, and it just feels a bit of a shame. But it feels like just some things have been set up, but then it doesn't end up coming through at the end. But at that point of watching it, it felt quite exciting, and just like the whole sort of scene with him going up the shard looks epic, especially epic for like Stephen Moffat era stuff. It's pretty cool, and I love the music in it. I think that's a great piece of music, like a great rendition of "I'm the Doctor," an actual rendition that was sort of never used afterwards. It was sort of a one-off rendition. Yeah, it sounds great. I'm surprised that Murray Gold didn't reuse it, as he sort of reuses majority of his stuff nowadays. But yeah, no, I really did enjoy that one.
So you've said that you haven't read a Doctor Who book.
No, I'm not a big reader. I'll admit I occasionally buy the Doctor Who magazine when Doctor Who's coming back. I'll probably buy the latest one because it looks quite cool. I'll probably buy that, and but I never read like a proper novel. I'm not big on that. I've never been a big reader. I'll be more of a sort of a visual sort of television. I don't. It's almost the same with audio. I've only listened to one Doctor Who audio, and that's the what's the 50th one?
A lot at the end.
Yeah, and that was it was okay. it was okay, but I don't have any urge to listen to them. And it's the same with books. I don't really have any urge to read a Doctor Who book. I just sort of wait for the TV series to come along, and I'll just watch it. Yeah.
So what you have chosen instead is a very interesting choice, because it's something which not really has been picked before. I couldn't imagine being picked again. It's the new series teaser trailers.
Yeah. See, I this probably is to seem a bit of an odd one, but it's sort of the direction of them and just how epic they feel. It like, as in when I say sort of teaser trailers, I don't mean it's like a trailer with little clip shows of the series, because that feels pointless. But actually ones that are sort of directed especially sort of bring you into the show. And the Christopher Eccleston one where he's running and there's an explosion.
I love that trailer.
And it's like introducing the character, and it's so exciting, and it's sort of made like a film. It just looks so epic. And then you've got the fire, the campfire one in series 4. There's sort of like its own little sort of, I'd say its own little adventure, but it's like tiny sort of little adventure. But it just looks so nice, and it really does. Every time I sort of see a teaser trailer, it gets me so excited for the series.
Yeah.
I mean, even because you had the Series 5 one where they're falling down the wormhole, that looks great. And then you even got these series ones. We're getting loads of them this series.
Yeah.
All these ones of him in the TARDIS, and now you're getting these countdown ones of like him writing on the chalkboard and then paper bits flying everywhere. And they just look so epic, and I just gets me really excited for a series. And I remember watching the Christopher Eccleston one, the trailer went in 2005, and just wow, it sort of really does blow your mind, and sort of sets up the show quite nicely.
That is. And the fact the theme music's sort of deeper and bassier, I think I should have used that rather than the actual one. That was supposed to be the theme music, and I thought it worked very well, because it sort of makes it sort of seem, it doesn't really seem like a show just for kids or something. Which sort of, you could worry about, them just saying, we're just going to target the kids with this new Doctor Who and make it very child friendly.
Yeah.
Which obviously they did, but it didn't look too adult.
No.
It wasn't like anything violent or like an explosion. But I mean, kids love explosions anyway. a very family trailer, like Doctor Who's a family show, really.
Yeah. But it's sort of, whenever I sort of see a sort of teaser trailer or like stuff like that, it does feel like the BBC are like putting money into this show. It feels like they care, and they really want to promote it. I mean, because unfortunately we didn't have that in series like 6 and 7. They didn't really have anything with that. But like when they sort of have teaser trailers and stuff like that, and they build up the series with these things, especially this series, they're building up that one so much, and it just excites me because it feels like the BBC care, and it feels like the BBC sort of switch on and off between caring and not for the shows, and then they sort of make these sort of really cool looking trailers, which feels like they put a lot of money into it, and sort of that's sort of like a switch on for me, and makes me think, oh, they must have put some effort into this one, because like series 4, they advertised that so much. They put it in cinemas. I remember that. I remember they released like cinema trailers. Like it was like from Voyage of the Damned onwards for series 4, and just to see the BBC care for the show, because obviously. I
remember seeing the one of the 11th Doctor and Amy lying back on the grass and they fall into the vortex. I remember seeing that in the cinema in 3D.
Yeah.
That was a sort of a teaser trailer of this ilk, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. That's
the kind of thing you mean.
That's great because they sort of that kind of got you excited because I remember they released that poster, which was those two sort of in the vortex. It was like one of the first promotional images that they released. I remember getting excited by that, and then like I think a week later, then they released that trailer, and it just looked so epic. Although the Silurian head popping out the ground at the end looked a bit odd. That was a bit weird because some people were like, "What was that?" But yeah, just like it's like this sort of cool little adventure in itself, and just sort of how well directed it is, and it looks like a proper like film trailer, like a proper like movie. But yeah, I just think they just look so cool.
So that is your additional extra choice. Obviously, you don't have it because it's like it's the book and the other. It's sort of it encompasses more because you've got all the teaser trailers.
Yeah.
So I guess we're coming to the end now.
Okay.
You've exhausted your list, and thank you for being on. Yeah, I mean, if people want to check out Five Who Fans, they probably already know from listening to the others, but how would they check that out?
Well, they would check that out by that's YouTube / the Five Who Fans. We are on Facebook and Twitter. If you type in I think it's 5WF Twitter and Five Who Fans, as in just sort of F, Five Who Fans like that.
Yeah.
We are also on Tumblr. That's Livy's territory. That she sort of controls all that for us. She's brilliant at that. I think that's the Five Who Fans as well, and I think we've got Vine as well, which we posted bits and bobs on there. I think that's a similar thing, 5WF. And I think that's most of it. No, I better promote this or Billy will kill me. We've got our Aimless Wanderings. I don't know if anyone's mentioned that, which is our sort of parallel version to this Doctor Who's universe of Doctors, where it's in a Doctor Who world where the Doctors are pretty rubbish at what they do. So yeah, we've got like the Fruit Pastel Doctor, which is very much like Tom Baker. Then there's my Doctor, which is very sort of, well, at the moment at least, it's very Peter Davison. There's Billy's Doctor, which has a very vibrant coat, which I call the Colgate coat because it looks like it's sponsored by Colgate. And then there's John's basically David Tennant, Matt Smith Doctor, which is the Dynamite Doctor. But yeah, just sort of gone that. That's Aimless. It's actually changed now because we've got a proper domain, so it's aimlesswanderings.co.uk. Yeah. That was just a big plug. Billy
no, it's all right.
Billy will be happy.
It's fine. So that ends the podcast. So thank you everyone for listening.